Okay, at this point we just have to accept that Radu can never die. Subspecies 4 continues the vampire saga right where part 3 left off, and introduces some new, let's call them colourful characters. But you know what they all want, it's that damn Bloodstone yet again. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Tim.
Thank you for having me back.
Everyone was waiting on you doing it, Tim. We all knew you were going to. This is a horror movie podcast. We're here today to continue the franchise that Tim decided we were going to do this October. I had some other ideas that I wanted to do that I thought were more fun, but Tim insisted on Subspecies. So we're here for Bloodstorm, Subspecies 4. We'll start spoiler free as we always do. This one came out in 1998, 4 years after the other one. Tim, are you looking forward to this?
I was.
Why?
Well, you know, like one of the big problems I had, with the last one is that it was very similar to the second one. So I thought maybe this one it has a few years gap in between them. Maybe that'll give them time to kind of really rethink what the series needs and what it can inject into it to give it some new life. And that I was kind of hoping that this was going to be kind of a spring awakening for a franchise that was falling down a little bit.
Well, believe it or not, Tim, Subspecies 4, despite being made a good 45 years after the previous movie, would you believe it picks up right after the end of the third one?
Wait, did you say 45 years?
No, 4 to 5 years.
Okay. I was gonna say, I know I'm old, but Jesus, if Subspecies 4 was 45 years ago, I don't know what I'd do.
No. It picks up right where the last one left off, which actually got me thinking that 2 picked up right after the events of 1, and 3 picked up right after the events of 2. So 4 does that as well. Meaning, technically, despite coming out in 1998, Subspecies 4 is still set in 1991.
And you know what? You don't notice a thing.
I don't. Well, one of them's got a mobile phone, which it's not like a super advanced one. It does and I know some cell phones did exist in 91, but this felt maybe closer to a later 90s model to me. But I don't know. I'm no expert. Anyway, Radu somehow is alive. He comes back. Even though he was pretty definitively killed off at the end of the last one. It doesn't matter, he comes back. He basically just gets up. We'll talk about specifics, but...
Now I like how the other movies have usually thought of a somewhat clever way for him to come back, but you're right, this one, after being thrown in the sun, lit on fire, falling and impaling himself on spikes, this was, you're right, he was just kind of I get back up. I'm like the Chumbawamba song. I fall down and I get up again.
You ain't ever going to keep me down. Yeah, because the Bloodstone's near him, so I think the implication is that the Bloodstone merely being in the vicinity gives him the power to rise.
Okay, not to get too far ahead, but we are gonna also be talking about the next movie. So spoiler alert, we've both seen all the movies at this point, but I'll be goddamned. I still have no idea what the Bloodstone does. Not a clue. Not a goddamn clue.
And what makes it worse is the 5th movie is a prequel that's meant to be the origin of all this shit. And somehow, we still don't really know what the Bloodstone does.
All I know is that vampires seem to love it.
It's the blood of the saints. That's all I know, because they keep saying it over and over again.
Oh yeah, of course.
Jesus. Okay. Alright. You know what? I'm making an executive decision. Anyone jumping into a review of Subspecies 4, either is just wanting to know, because they've listened to the other reviews, what the hell happened in the fourth one, or they've already seen the movie. Either way, I don't think you care about doing a spoiler-free section. So I'm making the executive decision now. Spoilers. We're just doing spoilers for the whole movie right now. Subspecies 4. We're in.
All right, wait. I'm just gonna give a real quick spoiler-free thought on the movie. Yeah, it sucked. Okay, so now spoilers.
How is it they keep finding ways to be?
If you're listening,
they keep finding ways to be more boring than the previous film. And it's really a magical.
So what's interesting about this one is, a big complaint about the previous films is like, the third one, it felt like, it was just the same as 2, and 2 I thought was a little better than 1, but it's still kind of a very similar plot. This one, it does do a lot of different stuff, but yeah, it still just is uninteresting. So Radu gets up, right? And despite the fact that the whole point of the end of the last movie was that the sun was rising and he dove over the edge and got burnt by the sunlight to the point where he burst out of flames, they still play it like as he's sitting up from being impaled and on fire, that the sun's still just kind of rising, so it's not quite full on daylight yet. And I'm like, no. The end of the last movie was very specific. The sun rose. This movie has such a weird relationship with vampires and sun. Like, there's a scene later on where I think it's like he's like a cop or something that gets turned into a vampire who's like, I believe it's him that's like running away from the sun, and it's just like, I kept thinking of something like almost any other vampire movie where if this was happening, they'd be catching on fire and screaming in agony, and this one they're just kind of running like, Tim,
I was confused by this too, but believe it or not, I don't actually think he's a vampire. More on that later.
Okay.
More on that later. So this movie, so 2 and 3 were made back to back, right? They were. I don't know if they were classed as one big production or if it was just a case of we're doing them back to back, so everyone's contracted for 2 movies. It's mostly, I imagine, all the same crew for both movies as well as all the cast carrying over. It was very much a 2-parter. We mentioned that in our reviews. This one's, 1998. It's 4 years after the last one.
And came out in 1998. Is that Alien Resurrection?
No, that was like 97. That was like a year or two before. 98, you've got Deep Rising. You've got... Dark City, was that 98? I think that's a 98. I don't know.
Favorite?
I hate Dark City. I think it's a shit movie. Other stuff. No, not Truman Show.
First... not Blade. Was Blade 99?
Blade's like 99, yeah.
Okay.
Why are we sitting trying to think of movies that came out in 1998?
Because I'm trying to compare it to its contemporaries.
Okay. Well, this one's later, and they've got Radu back. They've got the actress Denice Duff who plays Michelle back, right? The one who was from the first movie, but that wasn't that actress in the first movie. She was cast in the second movie, but she's played that character since. At the end of the last movie, she was taken in a body bag. She was alive, well, undead. Yeah. But she was taken in a body bag to protect her from the sun by her sister, who was the main character in the last 2, along with Mel, the guy from the US Embassy, and that random woman that Radu had in the second and third movies. Well, the third movie, right? This movie pulls an Alien 3. It kills all of these characters except Michelle, because apparently after they drive off at the end of the third movie, they get into a car crash and they're all dead. That's how this movie starts. And
correct me if I'm wrong, because even though I just watched it today, my memory may be a little hazy, but you don't even see the car crash. It's literally just cut to a woman that's like running towards a car on its side.
Is this Anna Lazar?
Yes. A new fan favorite character. But yeah, I mean, imagine seeing like Radu just get up and like be okay again and being like, that feels a little anticlimactic. Well, I'm sure that they won't skimp on what happens to my favorite heroes of the film and then just cut to a car crash.
Yeah, and you sort of see their bodies, but you can't see them from upside down, so I think they're different actors who are lying there. I don't think it's the cast from the previous movie.
You know what? I will give a little bit of credit to the film. So I forget if they did it before or like after this scene, but I did kind of like the title sequence where it just it shows you like a little best of like clips from the series.
Oh no, this was the one that was like an epilepsy fit though, where it started flashing quicker and quicker as the word subspecies was like dancing around the screen.
Hey, I like that. If I was getting my rave on.
This was shit, Tim. This was shit.
By the way, I just have to say okay. So I did a quick Google for 1998 movies, and this might have been the worst year for movies because these are just the first things that pop up for the Google search. It just says popular 1998 movies: Practical Magic, Ants, Prince of Egypt, Quest for Camelot. Like,
I have not seen any of these movies so far.
Yeah, like was there literally nothing else that came out this year? Like
there must have been some.
Has to be better. I guess Titanic.
No, that was 97.
According to Google, it says highest grossing films. Or, I mean, maybe it was still in theaters?
Well, it came out in December of 97, so yeah, so it was still, it famously still made a lot of money all the way till after Valentine's Day. What do we have here? We got The Faculty, we got, Godzilla 98, there's a hit. Oh, Truman Show was 98, okay, there you go, that's one genuinely great movie in 98, okay. Truman Show. There you go.
Truman.
People like Saving Private Ryan, I'm not that fond of it, but people like it.
It's been forever since I've seen it.
Yeah. Like I say, you got Deep Impact. You got Rushmore, if you like a bit of Wes Anderson.
I do, though. I like Rushmore, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Armageddon and Deep Impact year, so that's something, I guess.
It was nice to, make a, let's see, what do I have been, about 12 at that point? Just spent like a whole year just being afraid the Earth was going to get destroyed by meteors. That was nice. Yeah. I was, 9 this year? Oh, Hulk Hogan was in a movie called The Ultimate Weapon. I need to note that down for an Extra Reels episode over in Collector's Cut there. Oh, yeah, me and David need to do a Hulk Hogan season. I just realised he's got enough movies that's oh, wow.
That's absolutely a thing.
There you go.
Anyway, so all the characters are dead.
Brother.
Let me tell you something, brother. These aliens, they want to come down. I can't do a Hulk Hogan voice. I can't do it. I could do it. I could do an okay Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior is easier. He's like, fuel the rocket ship, Hulk Hogan. We'll go into the ring to immortals, and we will come out as legends. That's Ultimate Warrior.
Listen, you want the Bloodstorm, brother? You're gonna have to go through the Hulkinator. Bring it on.
Hulk Hogan versus Radu. I don't know who would even win that. Like, neither one refused. Like, both of them.
Well, I think we know whoever wins, we lose.
Yeah, but neither of them ever agree to win. Radu always gets back up no matter what, and so does Hulk Hogan. He refuses to job, as what they call it in wrestling terms, to lose for someone else.
Like, was that like a part of his like contract or something?
He was famous for politicking, and for example, in 1993, he came in and won the world title, and he was already kind of like a part-timer by that point, and he won it from the villain right after the new hero Bret Hart lost the belt. And the idea was that later in the year, Hulk Hogan would lose to Bret Hart at a big event and pass the torch, because he's the new generation. He's, like, Hulk Hogan era is done, Bret Hart's going to be the new big guy. And Hulk Hogan decided to not do it, and he lost to someone else instead. Apparently, and this is a bit of hearsay, but apparently when Bret confronted him about it backstage, he said, "You're not on my level, brother."
Jeez.
It's still real to him, damn it.
Well, it's surprising because by all accounts, he's a pretty nice man who's never done anything wrong.
Oh yeah, he's not a complete racist, alright? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, all right. I'm just imagining Hulk Hogan dropping a leg drop on Radu now. Radu's got the bloodstone out, but Hulk Hogan's no selling it and doing his hulking up routine, and he's like pointing and like,
would have been better. Would have been better than what we got.
That would have been an entertaining movie, yeah. So.
By the way, ironic title, Awakening, for such a dull movie.
What, this?
Yeah, or is the next one Awakening? Which one's this?
Neither's Awakening. This is Bloodstorm, and the next one's Blood Rise.
I thought one of them was called The Awakening. All right, never mind. Then.
You're thinking of Underworld, I think.
I get those confused a lot. Two of my favorites.
All right, so they're all died in a car crash, right? Anna Lazar, which it's spelled laser. Actually, no, it's not. No, it's two A's. It is Lazar, but right in a franchise.
By the way, well, I'm sorry, but this this film is a bit more fancy because they have subtitles in some scenes.
Oh yeah, there's actually some Romanian dialogue with the subtitle occasionally. What was interesting, I was watching this on the Full Moon channel via Amazon Prime, right? That's how I've been watching these. And the subtitles aren't always that accurate, because I had them on because I don't know, I was like struggling to hear some of the mumbling because the audio was not very good. And sometimes it would just like put the wrong phrase in. Like I would hear what they said and I'm trying to give an example, but it would be like like let's say for example, let's say they say please don't set yourself on fire, right? And then the subtitles would be like don't seem furious, or it would be like something. He's like, oh, it's like they used like an auto speech detect or something, and it didn't quite get what it was saying, and which I get on YouTube when it's the automatic captions. I don't understand why an actual movie on a streaming service is having that issue, but I guess the AI they used failed them. But yeah. Oh, which by the way, on the subject of the quality, 1 through 3 had Blu-rays, so when you watch them on their streaming service or wherever, you get nice widescreen. They're not great quality by like a lot of other standards, but they're HD, right? They're reasonable. This one never got remastered. It's 4:3. It looks like a VHS. It looks and sounds like shit. The same thing happened with the Trancers franchise. They remastered the first 3, and then 4, 5, and 6, shit.
Surprised there wasn't a big demand for it.
Yeah. Well, at least with Trancers though, I kind of got like, because when you get to 4, 5, and 6, you realize they're the weaker ones that are cheaper, and people don't like them as much. Whereas the first 3, well, they're still very much cheap B movies. Like Helen Hunt's in a couple of them. They were definitely bigger, right? Yeah. But with Subspecies, like 4's like, in terms of like rating and all that, like 4's pretty much on par with 2 and 3. I don't understand why. I don't really understand why they stopped where they did. But
it's not a deep dive in the terms of quality.
Anyway, so in a franchise that is full of dodgy acting, Anna Lazar might be the worst performance in the entire franchise, and that is like from the first time she opens her mouth. She's got the Tommy Wiseau thing going on, where she pulls out her phone. She's like, "Yeah, hello. Is this the police? Yeah, there's been a car accident. I'm a doctor. You are? That's convenient. Yes, I'm a doctor. Yes, thank you. I did not hit her. Bye." Like, okay, she doesn't sound exactly like Tommy Wiseau, but it's a very similar kind of deadpan delivery in a very foreign accent, and it's something else. And she finds the body bag with Michelle in it, and she takes it to this sort of nearby private research hospital run by a man named Ash, not Bruce Campbell, unfortunately. Instead,
we gotta mention that she does unzip the body bag, and Michelle's in there, and it's daylight, so she's
she reacts poorly to the daylight, quite right. But she takes her to this place because it's nearest, right? It's nearer than the city hospital that she works in. But she knows the doctor who works here, this guy Ash, who comes out, and he's got this ridiculous haircut. It's like the most straight. It's like down to like his cheek, but it's like curtains, so it's like straight cut like around the entire head.
That's I think you're confusing, because that's Ash was like the vampire, right? The like
that's disciple. That's the Radu's got like a son vampire that he's never mentioned before that's in this movie. No, you're right. This was Dr. Nicolaou. Is that him?
Yeah, and isn't that the name of the writer-director of the series?
Nicolaou? It's close to that. No, his is Nicolaou or Nicolaou.
Oh, okay.
It's similar, but it's not quite the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry, the doctor, not Ash. Yeah. He takes him to
But you are correct about the hair, though.
the hair's something else. And this guy is talking like he's Dracula. So, like, 3 scenes later, when they reveal he's secretly a vampire, I'm like, no shit.
No. It was also like it was also very convenient that he just like almost instantly knew that Michelle was a vampire. He's like, I have a theory. She's a vampire. It's like, how do you know
I think
about
she
vampires?
walks amongst the dead. Yes, Anna, my beauty, bring her. I can save her. I might be able to reverse the vampirism. Right? But obviously, he gets her on like a table. He's got all these things hooked up to her. It turns out that he just wants the Bloodstone, because that's like one of the first things he asks. He's like,
of course,
Michelle,
every vampire's after it.
where is the Bloodstone? And it turns out he knows who Radu is. They're all in the same circles, apparently. Radu doesn't know who he is, though. Although there is some ties, but anyway, it turns out he's a vampire, but he's a scientist, so he's actually been making a serum that lets. He makes a serum that lets him walk in daylight and touch Bibles and holy crosses and shit like that. So
doesn't sparkle though.
Yeah, and it doesn't sparkle, but whenever he's in daylight, he puts on these little round sunglasses, because apparently it's still a bit for his eyes. It's a bit much for his eyes. He has to protect his eyes, but he's fine otherwise in the daylight. So yeah, and as always in these movies, there's always at least one topless woman getting bit by a vampire at one point.
Yeah. Yep.
And which we don't see that until actually there's 2 in this movie, because there's one when we meet Ash, who's like Radu's son, effectively. him and his like missus are feeding on a topless woman, and then later on, Dr. Nicolaou, or Nicolaou, I'll just say the doctor. He when Anna wakes up at one point, she catches him feeding on a woman, and she's just lying there topless. And like the casting director for these movies, like they always go for someone busty. It's always big natural boobs, and I'm not complaining. I'm a man, okay? I'm a warm-blooded man. I enjoy the sight of some boobs. I do. But it's almost ridiculous how every single woman that I see topless in these movies has the exact same cup size, okay? It's just a bit weird.
The police are baffled. They're like, who keeps killing our bustiest women?
That's why they'll catch the killer, because they're really upset about it. Like, only all the small boob ladies are left. We have to catch this guy. Think of all the dreams he's ruining. Maybe vampires just have a type. Maybe big boobs means good blood flow. I don't know.
That sounds about right. Yeah, sure.
Oh dear. One of the things he does. So this guy obviously is quite old, right? And Anna's like a 22-year-old or something.
Yes.
Right?
Sounds about right.
After they talk to Michelle and say, hey, we're going to try and fix you, and they say, hey, Radu can't come in here because this hospital was a monastery before, so he can't come in unless he's invited. Because as we've established in Subspecies, and I'm surprised they remembered this from the first movie, a vampire can't enter holy ground unless invited. Houses and stuff.
Good continuity.
Yeah, houses and stuff are fine in this universe. They can walk in into those. It's just churches, monasteries, things like that.
Holy ground, Batman.
That was what, Tim? That was terrible. So as soon as they've talked to Michelle and they've kind of got her on board, although to be honest, Michelle's like desires of either wanting to be away from Radu or wanting to be with Radu seems to like ping pong throughout this movie, and I never knew where she lay.
Yeah, I never understand if she is like genuinely being seduced by the dark side, and then like, yeah, at the last minute she's gonna snap out of it, or if it is like she's playing him and pretending to be like this. I was a little confused.
She goes back and forth all movie. It's really just, it's hard to tell what she's going. And yeah, so the first time Anna Lazar and the doctor are away from Michelle after they've spoken to her. And by the way, at this point in the movie, we're like maybe 20 minutes in, and like 10 minutes of that was their conversation with Michelle. Like I can't, I shit you not, that conversation went on for an eternity.
Yeah.
And then they go to another room, and Doctor starts talking about how it's a shame our love affair ended when you were my student. And I'm like, whoa. She, like, the age difference here is staggering for a start, right? So there was apparently a consensual relationship between them, I assume no more than a few years ago, given her age.
Yeah.
Right? But then he roofies her. Right? He has some bottles or some glasses of wine or something. He roofies her. She passes out, and he leans over and says something to the effect, "I am so sorry, Anna Lazar, but I find you irresistible." But he doesn't do anything sexual. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue it's slightly sexual, but he's not doing this to rape her. He's doing this to feed on her. He bites her leg and sucks some blood. It's still, don't get me wrong, it's still a bit sleazy and obviously all the things you would say, but it's for that instead of sex. And apparently he does this again later, because it's the second time he does this, except the second time she does it, as she's falling asleep, she's like, "You drugged me." And I'm like, why are you realizing that this time but not the first time? I guess maybe you're just sort of like, "Mate, it's weird how I always get sleepy every time I have a drink with him." But yeah, this guy, the doctor, is such a character, and he just wants the Bloodstone, and he's pretending to be an ally of Michelle, but he's not really going to cure her. He's using her to get to Radu. He wants the Bloodstone for himself because he believes he can use it to truly become a Daywalker or some shit. That's all he cares about.
Science can only take you so far. Eventually, you're going to need a Bloodstone.
Meanwhile, Radu, who's just up and around, you know, he got up, as we mentioned earlier. He goes to, apparently he's got a son, like an heir, named Ash, who's never been mentioned before in the previous 3 movies. And this guy Ash, he's got a missus as well, and they're feeding on this woman. And Radu comes in, and Ash is immediately acting subordinate. He's like, "I've not seen you, master, in like 100 years, but anything I own is yours." And he's like, "Yeah, we've got an income because I own several like casinos and brothels. I also take victims from there. See the almost dead woman sitting on the couch, so on and so on." And Radu's like, "I think I would take all of these things from you." And he's like, "Yes, master." And he even says, "I will take your missus to my chambers and amuse myself with her." He's like, "Yes, master." Like, as soon as he gets her away from him, she starts saying, "Hey, I really like your son very much. Why don't you help me like overthrow him, kill him?" And he's like, "We are forbidden from killing our own kind now. Don't be you know." I think her name's Serena, just for the record. We're forbidden from killing our own kind. I won't be doing that. But as soon as
though he did like famously kill his father and half brother.
That was in the first movie, yes. And I'll tell you right now, his track record for sticking to his rules doesn't hold up in the 5th one either. So, as soon as Serena goes back to Ash, right, after... this is in the morning. This is basically... Radu's had his way with her. I mean, it's all implied. You don't really see anything. But you assume that they had sex. And he's like, "Okay, go away now. I'm done with you." She goes back to Ash and says, "Let's kill your father. Let's overthrow him and take everything." So Serena's just this manipulative, just trying to like get everyone to turn on each other. She just wants to be with whoever wins, effectively.
This is some Game of Thrones shit. I was like, wow, the political factions in this movie are it was quite smart, I thought.
Smart. Of all the words you could have chosen to finish that sentence, you picked smart.
It's a witty script. There's lots of machinations going on, and all these different people vying for power. Definitely a allegory for the current geopolitical climate.
Wait, current today or current as per 1998?
Let's meet in the middle and say 2012 or so.
Very good, very good. So honestly, like from here on, the movie is like these movies have been getting harder to pay attention to, like the more they've been going, because at this point I was starting to zone out. There's more conversations with Michelle. Basically, what propels the next part of the plot is that another character who was definitely killed in the last movie gets back up. So we cut to the detective, right? Lieutenant Marin, who was the main cop in the last 2 movies. If you remember, Radu grabbed his head last movie and stabbed him in the neck. Didn't bite him, he stabbed him. But he wakes up, right? here we just cut to him. He wakes up. We get a little flashback of what happened to him, and it's like, okay, he's alive, but he seems sensitive to the sun. I'm like, is he a vampire? I'm not sure. He does try to eat a sandwich when he like goes back to the station, but at the same time he spits it out. It maybe implies he does want blood. But then later on, when he encounters Serena, it feels like she treats him like I was getting the impression that he was more like his Renfield than actually a vampire.
I can see that. Yeah.
But to be fair though, it was not clear, and I'm doing some guesswork here. Okay,
that's fair.
I want that to be clear. But he ends up just going to the police station and sleeping in the closet, which is a little amusing because we get introduced to a new police officer. Another Detective Voda, I think his name is. He actually shows up at the hospital just as they're arriving with Michelle near the start of the movie, and he comes over. He's like, "Hey, you caught in this accident. Why did you not stay at the scene of the crime?" And she's like, because no one was alive and I've got patients here, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, also, we've been looking for another detective. Have you seen Lieutenant Marin anywhere? And the reason why this is amusing is because later on, he's like in the precinct and he's talking to everyone. He's complaining that they've not found him. And then he just goes over to the closet and opens the door and Marin's just in there. He's been sleeping and they just think he's drunk. And then Marin goes outside. He reacts to the sun. It hurts him. Doesn't kill him, just hurts him. And he ends up running to the nearby cemetery and hiding in a crypt. Which is only important because later on when Serena finds him, or Radu finds him, Radu says, "Hey, tell me all you know." And because he heard in the police station about what was going on with Michelle and all that, and the doctor and stuff, he knows to tell Radu where Michelle is. So this entire plot line with this detective is just so that Radu knows where to go and look for Michelle. That's it. That's the only thing that's done. It's the only thing that's achieved, because almost immediately Serena comes out and kills Marin. He's dead again, right?
Yeah.
He got up from being stabbed in the neck. He survived to pass on one piece of information, and then he died again.
To be fair, if they didn't have this scene, like the whole movie, I would have been like, well, how does Radu know where she is?
Yeah, it's not like Radu has just mysteriously used his magic powers to sense where people are throughout the last 3 movies or anything. This is testing me, Tim. It's testing me. So, Radu just shows up.
Almost done. The finish line is so close.
The franchise, yes. Not this movie, though.
Right, yes.
I say that, but it's not like much happens in these movies. Radu shows up at the monastery/hospital, and he's at the gate, and he's like, "I wish to speak with Michelle. Is Michelle in there?" And then, then he's like, "Okay, if you won't tell me that, then I wish to speak with the proprietor of this premises." So the doctor comes out in his sunglasses, along with Anna Lazar, who's by his side, and they ask him, "Hey, what are you here for?" He's like, "I am Radu. Give me Michelle back, please. I will go in peace and not harm anyone if you give me back my courtesan, blah blah blah." And
well, yes, nicely.
Yeah, I mean, once to let him in, is he going to actually play nice? That's another thing. But basically, as soon as the doctor says, "Hey, do you have the bloodstone on you?" And Radu's like, "Yes. If you give me Michelle, I'll let you have 3 drops of blood from the bloodstone." And he immediately opens the gate and says, "Come on in, Radu, my new best friend. I want a bit of that bloodstone." In the meantime, Anna Lazar's standing there going, "No, don't. It's a trick. He's going to kill us all. Please don't." And her acting is terrible. Like, I know I said that at the start, but like, she keeps impressing with how bad she is at acting. It really is something. This is all part of the doctor's plan, though. We actually saw him earlier on prepping weapons for this, and he gets a bunch of his employees to jump out with spears. They've got a net, they've got lights that are UV light or something, and they basically stab Radu and thingy. But I do have one glaring problem with this, Tim.
Oh, go on.
Well, when he's showing the weapons off earlier to Michelle or Anna, he says this is a stake for stabbing Radu's heart. and he holds up the quote-unquote steak, except it's not a steak, it's a spear with a metal tip. What the hell is the metal going to do to the vampire's heart? It's going to do jack and shit. But this movie seems to think it's a lethal thing to a vampire. So, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing pretty fast and loose with the rules. I guess.
Yeah, you've got nothing either. Don't pretend you do, Tim. Don't pretend you do. So, at least at this point in the movie, I'm thinking, okay, him coming here and confronting them, trying to get Michelle, them attacking Radu, things are happening, there's plot actually moving forward, that's something. And then, like, much like all these movies have done, they find a way to just grind it to a halt again, because Michelle runs outside going, no, I can sense they're hurting my master, I must protect him. And I'm like, you were scared of him like 10 minutes ago and wanting to stay in the protective walls of the monastery, and now you want to go and protect him? But sure enough, she goes outside.
You tried to kill him multiple movies.
I know. She runs outside, she pulls out the spear, and like Radu gets up and just says, I'm going to get vengeance on you for doing this to me to the others, and then he just shadows away. And that's kind of it. And then Michelle, I think, does she shadow away or does she stay with them? I can't even remember.
I believe she shadows away.
She does, okay.
I think she shows up, and then there's like this like angry Romanian woman or something that's like following her and yelling at her.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this.
Yeah.
Because they go back to where Ash and Serena live, and Radu's like, I'm taking your entire building for myself. You have to go and find somewhere else. And Ash and Serena are like, do we try and kill him? Do we do that? And Serena, she goes to the monastery and asks Anna Lazar, because for some reason it has to be a mortal that kills him. They've never brought this up before, but like, yeah, it has to be a mortal. So she says to Anna Lazar, hey, this is a key to where Radu's going to be sleeping. Come in and kill him in broad daylight, please. And she's like, yes, I will. To save Michelle, because for some reason Anna Lazar is like desperate to save Michelle. Like she has like, I guess she's like Lorraine McFly in Back to the Future. She has that like guilt of like finding her injured and wants to bring her back, even though her injury is vampirism. Which, good luck with that. Which, by the way, by this point in the movie, Anna Lazar has walked in on the doctor feeding on someone, and she freaks out obviously, and he just kind of convinces her that I only feed to live. And I'm going to, try and find a cure, and that's what I want the Bloodstone for. And it doesn't take that much convincing to just have her be along for the ride. In fact, when she goes to try and kill Radu in the third act, she brings the doctor with her. And then the doctor just gets killed by... is it Ash and Serena who kill him? I can't remember.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, someone kills him. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so hard to remember all this shit because it's just... Like, it's all just the logistics of, like, okay, one person's here, and then they tell the other person to go back there, and then they go from there to back here, and it's just darting between two locations. It's impossible to, see, when we were talking about movies, Tim, I usually find it so easy to go through the movie, right? With no notes, I just remember it because the movie flows naturally, so it's very easy to remember how it goes from A to B to C to D, all the way through to the end. With this movie... It has entire stretches where there's just blabbering on about the same old shit with no plot advancement, and it's very easy to just start forgetting everything that's going on.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And the problem is like, it always, and not just a complaint about this movie, I feel like the other movies as well, is like, there's always, well, maybe not the other ones so much. Probably a better example is this movie, but like, there's these, different plot lines that are going on, and they never really feel like they do a good job of like intersecting or coalescing into, a full narrative. Because you have this whole thing with like Radu and taking over like Ash's like business, which is so weird because like,
by the way, you never see any of these casinos or any of these brothels. They never show any of this.
But like, I don't know, I just like I never want to think of like Radu being involved in business, like him like having to go over like, you know, filling out tax forms and like looking at quarterly profits. I just like there's something that doesn't work about that.
How do you think brothels run in the US, Tim? I don't think they submit tax reports. It's pretty
the
illegal.
Ones do. The ones that are on the up and up should. But yeah, I mean, you have that like whole plot line, and then that that other vampire that's like trying to play both sides and get them to like fight against each other, which like never really becomes much of a thing. Like it's like they're constantly throughout the movie and bickering and fighting each other or whatever, and then like you said, it's bouncing off to the other plot line of the doctor and Anna,
and there's no payoff either to all this stuff, is there? Like there's never like an attempted coup, if you will. They just fight on his behalf and then end up getting killed during the fight. And at the very least, like Radu is always like has at least like a small like a level of entertainment, just like the way he looks and talks and stuff. So at least his scenes are a little bit more memorable. But like you were saying, the scenes with the doctor and Anna and Michelle and stuff, they're just constantly talking, and they're always talking about the same thing. It's always like goddamn Bloodstone, and just it's always some bullshit of like, what are we gonna do about Radu? Where's Radu? Like where's the Bloodstone? Like, how are we gonna get the Bloodstone? Like, what are blah 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 blah. And it's like, it's not fun to watch. Like, these movies should be like so bad and cheesy that like even if they're not good, that you want to be like laughing and having fun along the way. And there are some outrageous parts and every one of the movies and stuff that are funny, but then there's just these long stretches that are just dull and forgettable that both of us watched this earlier today, and even we're like kind of struggling to be like, okay, what happened next? Like, oh yeah, this part. Like, honestly, once they go to kill Radu and like the actual fighting breaks out, like I don't remember a lot. I remember how it ends, like I remember they repeat the whole thing where it's like Radu is saying to Michelle, like, you have to like vow to be my my beloved forever, right? Prove yourself loyal to me. And that's the exact same thing he was saying in the last one. And again, just exactly like the third movie, there's a period where it feels like Michelle's given into him and is going to be his new bride, all that stuff, and then decides at the last second to stab him instead, which leads to his death, because then Anna Lazar comes up and decapitates him. And he gets beheaded, right? So I was thinking at the end of this movie, like, how the hell are they going to have a fifth one? Like, he's beheaded, then they've put his head out in a spike in the sun, they've burned the rest of his body. Like, how is he possibly back for the fifth one? Turned out the fifth one was a prequel, so it didn't matter. But
of course,
this is the end of the story in terms of chronological, anyway.
And again, maybe I'm misremembering something, because again, a lot of this stuff is kind of forgettable. But didn't they behead him in one of the other movies too? Like, was it maybe the first or second?
I think it's the first one, because at the start of the second, which, by the way, where are the subspecies?
No subspecies.
We've not seen them since the start of the second movie. But they reattached all of his blood and muscles and stuff, and his spine. They connected all that up, and then it came together. But I think they vaguely mention in this that killing them's not enough. You have to do multiple things. So it's like, no, you have to like ruin the body, keep his head out in the sun after you kill him, and that'll stop him from ever resurrecting, kind of thing. Which, okay, fair enough. I guess. Well, no one's ever going to find this head on a spike and wonder, maybe we should call the police. There's a head on a spike. But whatever. Yeah. I don't even remember how Ash died. He definitely died, but I don't even remember how.
Yeah, that's...
The only thing I do remember is being not disappointed per se, because I wasn't invested, but I remember thinking the Doctor died very easily and quickly in this final big fight, to the point where I'm like, we spent half the movie as if he was like one of the major new characters, and he gets killed off so like quick, as if it's nothing. Like once all the fighting starts at the end, he gets killed really quickly.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to have an answer for this or remember, but who were those guys that were with him when he attacked Radu that first time?
His employees, I guess? I don't know.
Okay, because, they're just like, it seems like, okay, you have some people that are willing to fight for you, but then, like, that might be a good idea to bring them along to, the last fight and stuff.
Yeah, they only bring the one other scientist guy who waits outside. He's going to, like, open the door back up, because Serena had this whole plan where she somehow fixed the lock so that the key would open it, from the outside, but it wouldn't work from the inside. But instead, they didn't bring the key in with them. It's almost like they knew this was a thing, because they instead said, hey, we'll have a third person outside who'll open it from the outside, completely ruining their plan. But then Serena just shows up and kills them anyway, so whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing matters.
No.
That's the problem. Nothing matters in these movies, and it feels like we're just repeating some of the beats. They've got a kooky new character in the Doctor, and I guess the sell of this movie is, we're going to kill him for good at the end. It's going to be the finale, even though the end of the third one felt like a finale. I don't think anyone was clamoring for more Subspecies after Subspecies 3, but here we are. That's all I got. I got nothing else. Tim, you want to rate Subspecies 4?
I do. So, sorry, I was just double checking, where I got the subtitle "Awakening" from, because I swore it sounded so familiar. But yeah, I guess it doesn't fit the blood, motif that they have going throughout all the movies. Yeah, I mean, this was pretty bad. I guess you got to give it some points for trying to. Like, on the surface, it feels like they're trying to change things up. They introduce new characters. They actually have like different locations where, like the first like 3 movies, it all seems like it take place in just like the same like castle / like,
yeah. Although it's different from the previous movies, but it's worth mentioning that it's like the same 3 locations they use in this movie over and over again.
Right?
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, exactly. So like on the surface, it kind of tries to feel like it's doing different stuff, but the problem is that when you really examine it, the different stuff just feels like, all right, you're still going, like, even though you introduce new characters and new locations, we're still going through the same goddamn beats, and it's still like,
and also
boring,
because it's made, I mean, it's 4 years is not a huge amount of time for like a sequel,
right?
But because it picks up right after the previous movie, it is really noticeable that I think the actress who plays Michelle, she's got like slightly different hair, I think, and it really stuck out to me, because I'm like, there's no reason why she shouldn't just look the same, really, right? Obviously, in Subspecies 5, I expect them all to look older. Them to come back anyway. But I was like, I'm feeling the 4-year time jump here, and I think it's just because her hair is slightly different.
Yeah. And yeah, like I don't really give a shit about any of the new characters. It does, like, not that I cared that much about the old characters, but again, it's just like a shitty thing to do, is just to kill them all off, like, off screen at the start of this movie.
Melanie Shatner just did not want to come back.
Yeah. Melanie, I just got you a guest spot on Next Generation. Like, all right, see ya. Like,
but Shatner has no sway on Next Generation. I think at this point he was doing Tech War or something like that.
Yeah. And then also, like, a big thing is usually with the other movies, even though they're bad, there's usually at least like one set piece that I can kind of turn to, be like, all right, like, this one little bit of gore, like, the first movie where at least like, well, hey, at least it's cool when he takes his fingers off and the subspecies come out, and then like, the second one's like, well, it's cool in the beginning when the subspecies put his head back on, like, they usually have these like little bits, but like, oh, like that was a cool piece of gore or effect, or surprisingly in this movie, whatever. This movie has nothing. Like, there's not, like, I can't think of any like cool kills or any like, even though it's cheap, like, you could still have like some interesting special effects or gore or something, but there's really nothing like that in this movie.
Yeah, and even the locations we were mentioned before, like the lab set is like the most unconvincing laboratory I've ever seen. It's like a plain white room, and there's just like random things kind of around that look vaguely sciencey. Like it doesn't look like a real place at all.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go pretty low with this one. I think the other ones I've been given like 3s and stuff about, but this one I'm gonna go a step lower. Even though I did have some hope that maybe this one might at least be a little different or whatever. It's still making some of the same sins and the same mistakes, and I think it's definitely the most forgettable of the 4 so far, which is pretty damning. But I'm gonna give it a 2.5. It really is not that much. Again, at least the other ones, like, there's little stuff here and there that I can point to that I like, but there really isn't much going in this one that I enjoyed.
Yeah, for the record, you gave 4.5, 5.5, and 3.5. before, and they're a 2.5. So they're all 0.5s. Nothing in this franchise has earned a round number from you.
No. It's not a round franchise.
Oh god. I think I'll go with a 3. Because I wasn't as like, because for the record, I've went 4, 4.5, 3.5, and now 3. So yeah, so a slight uptick with 2, and then just sort of dwindling again down afterwards. It's just not good. It's bad acting. It goes in circles. It feels like nothing's ever going on. It's not even like, I chuckled a few times at some of the bad performances early on, but they lose their charm. Like, the more the movie goes on, the more you just start to beg for it to end. So I think that
I might be wrong, but this might have been the longest one too. Like, this one was 90 minutes, and usually about 80.
I felt it. I felt that 90 minutes. Don't you worry. And because of the recording schedule, we had to watch both 4 and 5 in the same day. And I'm going to tell you, I will not lie, it did not help.
No.
Having to watch both of these in the same day did not help. But yeah, there you go. That is Subspecies IV, Bloodstorm. I have to think about it. But yeah, you go. Or technically, it's Bloodstorm Subspecies 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could have had a cool scene where it starts like storming and raining blood, but they didn't.
All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap up this show. We'll have Subspecies 5 later in the week. Look forward to that. Octoberthon's Octoberthon's had its good moments, but it has its low moments, and this is one of those low moments. So
Octoberthon is a double-edged sword. You get the good and the bad.
Yeah. So if you want more Screams After Midnight, if all these episodes haven't been enough, you can get a bonus episode every month. They were off for a long time because Tim was on paternity leave, but they're back this month. One already up for October, but there's going to be a second October episode, bonus episode that is, on Halloween itself. So when the final episode goes public, the patrons will get another bonus episode right there as a special Halloween treat. So
it's a fun one.
It is a fun one. We've already recorded it. We know what it is. So yeah. Look out for that if you're a patron or you want to become a patron. Head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get access to that. There'll be a bonus episode every month going forward, and even more streams. Our $5 and up tier bonus show that we do monthly will be back starting in December, so look forward to that. But that is stuff you can go get over at Patreon, and it'll help support the show, keep the lights on, all that stuff. And if you can't do that, then hit the like button on YouTube or rate us 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. All these things do help. It helps more people find the show, helps us grow, and the more we grow, the more we can keep doing this, and it helps us out. So thank you very much. This has been Screams After Midnight. What you breaking down over there, Tim?
Life's funny. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.